Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 8. November 6th, 1926. Jesus promises to bring Luisa to heaven when he has completed his manifestation. The new apostles of the Fiat. How the one who lives in it centralizes the heavens, the sun, and everything within herself. I was feeling all oppressed under the weight of the privation of my sweet Jesus. How I longed for the celestial fatherland, in which I shall no longer lose sight of him. I shall no longer be subjected to the hard martyrdom of feeling myself dying without dying. Now, while I was tired and exhausted of waiting, my sweet life, my dear good, my sweet Jesus, moved in my interior, but all afflicted, as it seemed he was sending chastisements over the earth. And in order not to give me more pain, he did not want me to see them. But from the way I saw him, I understood the chastisements he was sending. And sighing, he told me, "My daughter, courage. Let me finish manifesting to you what is necessary regarding the kingdom of my will, so that nothing may be lacking in order to form it in the midst of the human family. And then, after I have completed everything, I shall quickly bring you into our fatherland. Do you think that you shall see the full triumph of the kingdom of the eternal Fiat before coming to heaven? It is from heaven that you shall see its full triumph. It shall happen to you as it happened to me with the kingdom of redemption. I did everything that was needed. I formed the foundation. I gave the laws and the counsels which were needed. I instituted the sacraments. I left the gospel as the norm of their life. I suffered unheard of pains unto death. But while being on earth, I saw little or almost nothing of the fruits and of the carrying out of redemption. After I had done everything, and had nothing left to do, I entrusted everything to the apostles, that they might be the criers of the kingdom of redemption, so that the fruits of the works I did for the kingdom of redemption might come out. The same shall happen for the kingdom of the supreme Fiat. We shall do it together, my daughter. Your pains, your long sacrifices, your incessant prayers that my kingdom may come soon, and my manifestations about it, I shall unite everything together with me, and shall form the foundations. And once I have completed everything, I shall entrust my kingdom to my ministers, so that, like second apostles of the kingdom of my will, they may be the criers of it. Do you think that the coming of Father de Francia, who shows so much interest, and who has taken to heart the publication of what regards my will, came by chance? No, I myself disposed it. It is a providential act of the supreme will that wants him as first apostle of the divine Fiat and proclaimer of it. And since he happens to be the founder of an order, it is easier for him to approach bishops, priests, and people, also within his own institute, in order to proclaim the kingdom of my will. This is why I assist him so much, and I give him special light, because in order to understand my will, it takes great graces, not little lights, but sun, to comprehend a divine, holy, and eternal will, as well as great disposition on the part of the one to whom this office is entrusted. And then, the daily coming of the priest, I myself also disposed, that I might find quickly the first apostles of the Fiat of my kingdom, so that they might proclaim what regards my eternal will. Therefore, let me finish first, so that after I have completed it, I may entrust it to the new apostles of my will. And you shall be able to come to heaven, to see from up there the fruits of the longed-for kingdom of the eternal Fiat. Then I continued to do my usual acts in the supreme volition, and I thought to myself, my poor mind makes its round through the sea, through the sun, through the heavens, everywhere, in order to follow the acts that the adorable will does in the creation. But once I finish making my round, I always find myself down below, in my hard exile. Oh, how I would like to remain, at least in the blue heavens, to do the office of a star for my Creator. But I would disappear in the midst of the stars, because I am neither beautiful nor shining like the stars. And so they would all put me out, hurling me down to the bottom, my long exile. But while I was thinking of this, my sweet Jesus moved in my interior and told me, my daughter, the one who lives in my will, lives in the unity of her Creator, who keeps with himself, in his unity, the whole creation. And just as he keeps the creation, so does he keep, in his unity, the soul who lives in the eternal Fiat. And this unity brings her all the reflections of her Creator, as well as his unity with all creation, in such a way that the living image of he who created her can be seen in the soul. And by maintaining his unity with all, he keeps her in the reflections of all the things created by him. And these reflections form the sea, the sun, the heavens, the stars, and all the enchanting varieties of nature in the depth of the soul. So the soul who lives in my will, placed in the azure heavens, would be the most beautiful ornament for this azure vault, such as to astonish heaven and earth. She would have, all within herself, her Creator, a heaven, a sun, a sea, everything as her own. Nor would she lack even the earth, all flowery, and the sweet singing of the birds, bearer of the joy and of the harmonious music of their Creator, because each created thing contains a divine note. Therefore, instead of hurling you down, they would aspire to keep you in their midst, because among the many prodigies that my will contains, it has the power to portray all of our works in the soul, and to centralize all of its acts in her. It is not content if it does not see its own beauty in the soul, if it does not find its echo, its joy, and all of itself. November 10th, 1926. How the one who lives in the divine will encloses all creation within herself, and is the reflector of her Creator. Two effects of sin. My days always alternate between the privations and the short visits of my sweet Jesus, and many times he is like a flash that escapes. And as he escapes, I remain with the piercing nail. When shall he come back? And sighing I call him, my Jesus, come. Come back to your little exiled one. Come back once and for all. Come back to bring me to heaven. Do not leave me in my long exile any longer, for I can bear no more. But as much as I called him, my calls were in vain. So abandoning myself in his holy divine volition, I did my usual acts, as much as I could, making my round through the whole creation. And my sweet Jesus, moved to compassion for my poor soul that could bear no more, put out an arm from within my interior, and all pity told me, my daughter, courage, do not stop. Let your flight in my eternal will be continuous. You must know that my will does its continuous office in all created things, and its act is distinct in each thing. It does not do in the heavens what it does in the sun, nor in the sun what it does in the sea. My will has its special act in each thing, and even though my will is one, its acts are innumerable. Now, the soul who lives in it comes to enclose within herself all the acts that my will does in all creation. So she must do what it does in the heavens, in the sun, in the sea, and so forth. She must enclose everything within herself, so that the soul may follow all the acts of my will. And not only this, but so that my will may receive the requiting act of the creature. Therefore, if your act is not continuous, my will does not wait for you. It follows its course, but it leaves in you the void of its acts, and a certain distance and dissimilarity remains between you and my will. Now you must know the great good that you enclose by enclosing within yourself all that my will does in the creation. While you follow its acts, you receive the reflection of the heavens, and the heavens are formed and extended in you. You receive the reflection of the sun, and the sun is formed in you. You receive the reflection of the sea, and the sea is formed in you. You receive the reflection of the wind, of the flower, of all nature, in sum, of everything. And oh, how the heavens that protect, the sun that illuminates, warms, and fecundates, the sea that inundates and forms its waves of love, of mercy, of grace, and of strength for the good of all. The wind that purifies and brings rain over the souls burned by passions, the flower of the perpetual adoration to your Creator, arise from the depth of your soul. This is why it is the prodigy of prodigies. The living in my will is the true triumph of the supreme Fiat, because the soul becomes the reflector of her Creator and of all our works. In fact, only when it places in the soul what it can and knows how to do, then does our will triumph completely. It wants to see in her not only He who created her, but all of His works. It is not content if she lacks even the slightest thing that belongs to it. The souls of the supreme Fiat shall be our works, not incomplete, but complete. They shall be the new prodigies, never before seen or known, either by the earth or by heaven. What shall not be the enchantment, the surprise of the very blessed, when they see the first daughter of the divine Fiat enter their celestial fatherland? What shall their contentment, their glory not be, in seeing her carrying her Creator with her, with all of His works, the heavens, the sun, the sea, all the flowery earth with its varied beauties. They shall recognize in her the complete work of the eternal will, because it alone can make these prodigies and these complete works. Then I continued my abandonment in the eternal Fiat in order to receive its reflections. And my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, my celestial mamma was the first who occupied the first place in heaven as daughter of the supreme volition. And because she was the first, she has around herself the place for all the children of the supreme Fiat. So around the Queen of Heaven, many empty places can be seen, that can be occupied by no one else but her copies. And since she was the first from the generation of my will, the kingdom of the Fiat shall also be called Kingdom of the Virgin. Oh, how the sovereignty over all creation shall be recognized in these children of ours. In fact, by virtue of my will, these shall enjoy indissoluble bonds with all created things. They shall be in continuous relations of communication with them. They shall be the true children, in whom the eternal Creator shall feel honored, glorified to have them as children, because He shall recognize in them His own divine will operating, that has reproduced His true images. After this I was thinking to myself, before sinning, my first father Adam possessed all these bonds and relations of communication with all creation, because by possessing the supreme will as whole, it was as though natural for him to feel within himself all the communications, wherever it operated. Now, in withdrawing from this will so holy, did he not feel the tearing he made from all creation? The snapping of all communications and of all bonds, broken from it as though in one single breath. If by just thinking of whether I must do an act or not, and by just hesitating, I feel that the heavens tremble, the sun withdraws, and all creation is shaken, and is in the act of leaving me alone, so much so that I myself tremble together with them, and frightened immediately, without hesitating, I do what I must do. How could he do that? Did he not feel this tearing so harrowing and cruel? And Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, Adam felt this tearing so harrowing, but in spite of this he fell into the maze of his will that gave him no more peace. either to him or to his posterity. All creation withdrew from him as though in one single breath, and happiness, peace, strength, sovereignty, everything withdrew. He remained alone with himself. Poor Adam, how much it cost him to withdraw from my will. Just by feeling isolated, no longer surrounded by the cortege of the whole creation, he felt such fright and horror that he became the fearful man. He was afraid of everything, even of my very works. And with reason, because it is said, "One who is not with me is against me." Since he was no longer linked with them, by justice they were to put themselves against him. Poor Adam. There is much reason to have compassion for him. He had no example of anyone else who had fallen, and of the great evil that had occurred to him, so that he might be watchful in order not to fall. He had no idea of evil. In fact, my daughter, the evil, the sin, the fall of someone else has two effects. For one who is evil and wants to fall, it serves as example, as a spur, as an incentive to fall into the abyss of evil. For the one who is good and does not want to fall, it serves as antidote, as deterrent, as help and defense, so as not to fall. In fact, seeing the great evil, the misfortune of someone else, serves as an example in order not to fall and not to follow that same path, so as not to find oneself in that same misfortune. So, the evil of someone else causes one to be watchful and on guard. Therefore, the fall of Adam is for you a great help, a lesson, and a call, while he had no lesson from evil, because then evil did not exist. November 14th, 1926. How, by not following the divine will in the creation, the soul would lack the reflection of its works. How great graces are needed for the sanctity of living in the holy volition. I was doing my usual acts in the divine volition, and I thought to myself, if I spent one day without doing these acts, what would be the good I would lose, and the evil I would do? And my always lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, do you know what you would do? By not doing your acts in my will, you would lack the reflection of all creation. And because you would lack its reflection, on that day, the heavens would not extend within you. The sun would not rise. The sea would not flow within you. Your earth would not let the new flowering bloom. Nor would the joy, the music, the singing of the inhabitants of the air, the sweet symphony of the spheres, be heard in you. My will would not find its echo in you. Therefore it would feel the sorrow that, on that day, the little daughter of its volition, has not given it the requital of a heaven for love of it, because she lacked the reflection of its heaven. She has not made the sun rise in return for its eternal light. She has not let it hear the sea flowing, nor its sweet murmuring, nor the darting of the mute inhabitants of the waves. My will would feel all of its acts, the reflection of its works, missing in you, nor could it form its echo in you. And in its sorrow it would say, "Ah, today my little daughter has not given me a heaven as I have given to her, nor a sun, a sea, flowers, singing, music, and joy, as I have given to her." So she has gone out of my likeness. Her notes have not harmonized with mine. I have loved her with many manifestations and with incessant love. She did not. See what you would do. My will would not tolerate in you, its little daughter, the void of its works. On hearing this, I said, "My Jesus, my love, may it never be that I give this sorrow to your adorable will. You shall help me. You shall give me more grace, and I shall be more attentive in order to receive this reflection, this echo, that your holy will produces in the whole creation, so that I may correspond with mine." And Jesus, resuming his speaking, added, "You must know that great graces are needed in order to form in the soul the sanctity of living in my will. The other sanctities can be formed with small graces, because it is not an immense and eternal will that they must embrace and possess, but little particles of it, its commands, its shadow. On the other hand, in this sanctity, they must possess my will as their own life. They must form its cortege, and make its acts their own acts. Therefore, seas of graces are needed in order to form this sanctity. My will must bilocate itself in order to extend its sea in the depth of the soul, and then extend another sea of itself, so as to be able to receive what befits its sanctity, its unending light, its immensity without boundaries. The goodwill of the soul is nothing other than the bottom of the sea, that forming the shore, surrounds the waters in order to form the sea. My daughter, it takes much to sustain and preserve a divine will in the soul, and the divinity, knowing that the creature does not have equivalent things for a will so holy, holds nothing back. Everything is placed in her, at her disposal, in order to form the sanctity of living in my will. God himself acts as prime actor and spectator. My humanity gives everything it did, suffered, and conquered, that are endless seas, as help of this sanctity, fully divine. The Queen Mamma herself places her seas of grace, of love, and of sorrow at her disposal, as help, and feels honored that they serve the supreme will in order to accomplish the sanctity of the eternal fiat in the creature. Heaven and earth want to give, and they give, because feeling all invested by this will, they desire, they yearn to help the fortunate creature to fulfill the purpose of creation, the origin of the sanctity that the supreme volition wanted from the creature. Therefore, nothing shall you lack on the part of your Jesus. More so, since this is my desire from of old, wanted, yearned for, and longed for as long as 6,000 years, wanting to see our image reproduced in the creature, our sanctity impressed, our will operating, our works enclosed in her, and our fiat fulfilled. I wanted the enjoyment and to take the pleasure of seeing our reflector in the creature. Otherwise, the creation would be without delight, without amusement, without harmony for us. Our echo would not find the way through which to resound, our sanctity the place in which to impress itself, our beauty the place in which to shine, our love the place in which to pour itself. Our wisdom and mastery would find no place in which to operate and unfold. So all of our attributes would remain hampered in their work, because they would not find the suitable material with which to form their work, so as to have their reflector. On the other hand, in the soul in whom my will reigns, my will disposes her to become suitable material, so that our attributes may carry out their delightful crafting. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 8. Fiat.